now that you've looked at Oregon, what jumps out at you on tape? Obviously, the thing people always jump at is their tempo.
Yeah, I have not. I've watched a lot of their offense, not to the point where I'm going to make decisions. I give suggestions because we run similar offenses, a lot of similar plays. Their tempo, and then the thing that, the best player, the Heisman Trophy winner, and he should have been the Heisman Trophy winner. I'm glad he got it. For a lot of reasons, I'm glad he got it. I just love who he is, and I've been around him. When he was a young player, I went out there and visited, and I remember them telling me about him. I think Chip recruited him when he was, is it Puno? Which high school is it? I know it. St. Louis, yeah, the other great one. And was a backup for a while and just a great kid. And I think that's so good for college football to see a guy like that and win it. Great player, great person, great leader, you can tell. Plays his best when it's hard. Plays his best. The Michigan State game was a perfect example. He extends plays, and he's the biggest challenge. Tempo offense is really hard, but tempo offense with an average player, it's not that hard. He's the one that keeps the chains moving, and that's when tempo gets you. The risk of tempo offense, which I debated for years, is you 3 and out them, and then 24 seconds you just took off the clock, and you're playing a good team. That's not good. So there's plus and minuses. You have a quarterback like that, that's usually pluses. And the negative of what's happened with the tempo offense is you have an incredible leader at quarterback. He simply just takes a snap now. He's not able to. It's not as easy. In the old days, the stories of Joe Montana looking at Jerry Rice and winking at him, and there's still that intangible value of this great game of football that lets me and you do this. And it's harder when that guy you're winking at's 25 yards away. So and I had Pouncey's and I had Tebow, and I didn't want to lose that huddle. Obviously, we've lost it. And there's still opportunity for great leadership, I've learned. But that was the thing that held us back from going full up-tempo, 4, 5, 6 years ago.
You saw that as the future, though, didn't you?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Everybody says it's not.
Yeah.
It is. It's an advantage for the offense. And if you don't take it, then that's fine. But I know Alabama is moving in that direction, and is it full speed all the time? We're not, but there's certainly that gives us an advantage at times.
Beyond tempo stuff with you and Oregon offensively, just the way you attack teams with play calls and that kind of stuff, how similar are we talking about philosophically?
Well, Tom is a disciple. He studied it for many years. He studied actually Chip Kelly first started studying when I was at Utah. He went from New Hampshire and he started that evolution, and that'd be a good conversation for Chip. But there's a lot of similarities between the two programs as far as how do you go attack a defense.
And then how does that play into this game at all? Is your defense used to playing against your offense so they can defend Oregon?
That's a great question. I think what remains to be seen. I know I've gone in there and tell our defense what we don't like, what bothers us, and I'm sure they're doing the same thing. They see it every day in practice. So, and there are some things they do much better than we do on the perimeter, and there's things we do a little better than them. So it's not exactly the same, but there's a similar philosophy. So I'm sure there's a lot of conversation between the two staffs, more than normal games.
I remember you saying when they came up with the playoff that you can't imagine having to play a game and then preparing for another one. And I'm just wondering, you're living it right now. How is it? How difficult is it, or is it just a grind?
I ask our players. I'm not one of those guys who's been known to say, I check with our players constantly. Now, the guys I trust, how you hanging in there? I mean, that last game, that was a hammer now. I mean, even our players looked at me after the game like, wow. Because Alabama, especially in the trenches, you face a team like Alabama, I mean, gigantic human beings. And so, I'm watching it like I never have before. I mean, from the amount of contact we're having to off their feet and that's for my strength coach, and we have a performance team here, and we use a GPS system. We do hydration, we test our hydration every day, and that's where I think this game has changed, and it's in a trajectory where it's really good for the player because you try to keep them out of harm's way as far as your body. The soft tissue, I can go on a dissertation about this stuff because we've studied it so hard, but the soft tissue injuries should not. If you do a good job of your strength staff performance team, that player shouldn't go out there if they're dehydrated. And there's some much better ways to find out now than there was years ago. So, and I'm telling you, for 15 game season, I don't know if you could do it any other way. You old school it with 15 games, you go jog out there with 35 players. So you have to be very cautious.
Do you have, I mean, this sounds silly to say because you're playing for the national championship, but do you have any concerns to get back to that level that you were at in the Sugar Bowl, next Monday night?
That's our concern. And then getting ready for a tempo offense, which means you got to be practicing hard. That's what you just said is the concern for this game.
Far left, Pat. Yeah, Urban, you touched on it a little bit.